Okay, so I'm going to call to order the September 12th, 2019 meeting of the North Andover Community Preservation Committee. And the first item on the agenda, I will now move us to executive session under Exemption 3 of the Open Meetings Law to discuss strategy as it relates to the litigation underway concerning the recreation complex. We'll need a voice vote to move to executive session. So Brian?
In favor.
John?
I, John Simons, vote to go in executive session.
In favor.
Frank? Yes, and I am in favor as well. So it is unanimous, it carries, and we'll now move into executive session.
You have to vote on that?
I
Yeah.
don't, yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's take a vote to return to open session. Brian?
In favor.
Yes,
John?
John Simon's in favor.
Terry?
Yes.
Frank? And Denman O'Connell in favor. So we are now reconvened in open session. So if we look at our agendas, the next thing on the list is a discussion of the Rolling Ridge parking lot. Lawrence, would you mind stepping up? Either one, your choice.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so let me just sort of set the table here. I think we all know we've been talking about the Rolling Ridge, having Rolling Ridge put in the parking lot for the project, just to finish off that project for a while now. I know John and Terry, I think you guys started off talking to Lawrence, and Lawrence has been very good about meeting with us and helping to move that along. But I think Lawrence recently met with the Conservation Committee, and they have requested sort of a full plan as to everything that's going to be impacted and what's not. So Lawrence has come back to us. I took a ride out to Rolling Ridge this past Saturday, met with Lawrence, who, who's nice enough to give me sort of a preview of the discussion tonight. But so I think that's where we are. I think, Lawrence, you want to sit down with us and just talk about next steps and how to get this rolling. Is
Yes.
that right?
And so,
Okay.
again, I want to thank you all for your patience with us as we kind of get this ball rolling again. It's been 8 years since the easement was granted to the town, and we want to be able to get this done as soon as we can, hopefully by next year. But in meeting with Conservation, they are looking for a full plan of what we can do. And so what I provided for you is, I don't know if you had opportunity to read this or not, but I put together a nice little, just kind of an overview of the background, the recent history, and the decisions that are needed as we move forward with the project. I don't want to go through all the nitty-gritty details with you, but I summarize 8 different decisions that I think that the CPC needs to kind of come to some consensus on, so that I can then bring it back to Conservation to figure out how we can move forward. From what I'm understanding is that Conservation is really looking for some direction about what permits need to be granted so the project can move forward. And so it's just kind of talking about what have been some of the ideas that have been kind of brewing to make the trail more accessible all the way around for the community. And so this little handout that I've given you, it's got pictures and so forth, and I don't know if the pictures make it clear or more confusing about what needs to go on. But what I'm going to do is, on the bottom of page 3, I outlined the decisions that need to be made. And what we can do is you can ask me questions about each of them as we go forward. The first decision that needs to be made has to do with the placement of the parking lot. And I know that there has been conversation about relocating the parking lot from up where it was supposed to be, right off of the easement plan, right off of Great Pond Road, and moving it down the hill into conservation land. In going through some of Larry Peacock's old emails, I did find a document that had been sent to him of a draft by DK Engineering Associates that actually relocates the parking plan, that relocates the parking area to the area that we had talked about when we were there looking at it. I don't know if this had ever been brought to Conservation or not, but I know that in conversation with Amy when she was on grounds to talk about some other issues with us, she wasn't all that keen about moving it into that conservation area. And so I guess I kind of need to get from CPC whether we want to keep it where it is in the original plan, or to try to bring to Conservation something along this line where we recommend that it gets moved further down the hill. So that's one of the decisions that I think CPC needs to work
I
with.
guess, again, and, I was part of some of the conversations, but not all the conversations, but I thought when we were out there in May, what we said was, looking at the topography of the land, there's one spot that's probably better than the other spot, but it might have conservation implications. Why don't we go to the Conservation Commission and ask them their preference along 2 axes? One is that they have this jurisdiction related to wetlands anyway, and secondly, they're the administrator of open space, so have them tell us. Have they opined about what their preference would be?
Not that I'm aware of.
So what ended up happening is that when myself and Maureen Harold went to present at Conservation about a violation issue that we were working with, Maureen was able to kind of spell out to the Conservation Commission the entire plan about what we are looking for. And when Amy came to look at the property at one of our meetings, she had mentioned that she didn't necessarily feel comfortable moving the parking lot down lower. So it hasn't gone officially to the Conservation Commission. We just know that in conversations with Amy, she wasn't all that keen. I don't know if, were you there when we had that conversation with her about the parking
I mean,
lot?
I was there with her, but I don't remember her.
I mean, I guess, maybe we sort of, and maybe through Deb, I mean, we need to communicate a little bit more to the Conservation Commission, because it feels to me like they're taking a passive role of, oh, there's an applicant, and we'll judge on what the applicant has proposed is good or not. But in fact, we're asking the Conservation Commission to be a participant because they have a stewardship responsibility here, and they should they get the choice to put it wherever, not where, literally wherever they want, but practically speaking, for them, what's the best solution? So I think we need to engage them that way.
The other part of that, and we have to remind her about that, is that the first site they wanted was directly across from the T for that hole. And we want to be good neighbors if we can and try and stay out of that,
So
that area.
You're right, but I think interestingly, the map here seems to indicate, and this is older, right? But it seems to indicate that the only place that's not in conservation land is that immediate spot.
And then that would be it.
Right.
It's not in the
Yeah.
buffer, yeah.
Then that would be it.
So, and I guess so I think you're right, John. I think, and I don't know the right way to do this, but I think we need to re-engage the Conservation Committee in a more meaningful way, I guess, and I don't know
Yeah.
if that's through Deb. I mean,
I met with her on it. I can go down and see her, and I can go through her and then get a feel from her. But I know just how that board works, and as they should work. If she's been out on the site and she feels a certain way, they're gonna go with what she tells them, I would find it hard to believe the board would overrule her if she didn't feel comfortable with it, so.
I apologize for missing the site walk, but what's the impetus to try and push it further away from Great Pond? Is it?
You're right in wetlands.
no, but because it just wasn't.
It's where it's proposed is in wetlands?
No. Where we want to move it to.
No, that I
Yeah.
understand, it's moving within, but yes, why do we want to move it down there, I guess is what I'm asking.
If you take a look at the picture that's here on the front page of this long tome that I wrote, if you can see, on the front, you've got the golf tee right there.
Yep.
And then right across from that is where the parking lot is going to go.
And it's a knoll.
It's-
So we
that's
don't know
what-
what's
so it's
gonna
a-
be in
yeah,
that thing.
Right, it's a weird sort of incliney.
So that could be one giant rock, it could be almost anything, we don't know.
We were just suggesting maybe there was an easier spot to put it, if not, in terms of construction.
The conservation, it's interesting because their perspective is at times counterintuitive for what you think of as conservation, is that they're saying, we picked the spot we wanted because it seemed to have less land disturbance and it was a more level thing. But their view is that they protect the wetlands and only the wetlands, and if they have to do a lot of cutting and filling of other land, they don't care. I mean, that's probably an oversimplification of their thing, but,
Or at least that's preferable to getting closer to the wetlands.
Yeah.
In their opinion.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so, I mean, is there a sense of, from you guys, what you think we want to do in terms of talking to conservation?
I think we have to, and I can set that, I'll meet with her, and
Yeah.
I'll reach out to Deb too and ask her if she wants to go. But I'll be happy to meet with her and try and.
This is the new administrator who
Right.
took Jennifer's place.
yeah.
The new Jennifer?
What's that? The
new
Jennifer?
New Jennifer,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I can meet with her
Yeah.
and get a decision.
Yeah, okay.
And I'll-
I'm
and
happy with that.
I'll let you know what she says when I meet with her. If she's sitting there and just saying to me, this is why I don't want it here, and I'm not, that's what I'm gonna tell the board, and I'm not gonna budge. And I explain to her what we're looking to do, and if she is not looking like she's gonna bend, I say we just go for where we're supposed to go.
Okay.
Good,
So-
very good.
Does that sound good to you?
Oh, yes, and so that's kind of where I just, as long as there's some clarity about the next steps for each of them, then I'm good. The next one is a decision about installation of gates. And I had mentioned at when I was last here in May, I wanted to put a gate at the end of the parking lot to be able to kind of prevent people from driving through, but we would have a large walking area, a place for a walking to go. And I have an attachment where I'm envisioning something where at the end of the parking lot, we would have something that prevents cars from going through, but we would have a nice area that's big enough for people to, to bring their dogs and their bikes and so forth, to be able to walk through. And it's simply a deterrent for cars to drive through. And so that one would be at the end of the parking lot, wherever the parking lot goes. And then the second gate would be similar to the one that's down underneath it, and that would indicate where people would need to turn off of the historic carriage road and then to continue onto the public access trail wherever that gets rerouted. There would be 2 gates for that. It would be a small gate that walkers coming down from Rolling Ridge off of Carriage Drive could open up and close if they need to, and again, would be similar as having a barrier for cars to drive through. And again, it is to simply help direct people of where to go, but also to kind of protect the privacy that we have at Rolling Ridge. And so it'd be 1 gate at the edge of the parking lot, at the kind of basically marking the start of the trailhead, and then the other one would be the turn down on from Carriage Drive onto the public access trail, wherever we decide to reroute that. And so I just kind of need to get a sense from CPC where your thoughts are about these gates.
Do you want gates because you want the ability in an emergency to be able to drive through there? Or do you want the gates to prevent that, what you're worried about?
I guess we're concerned about cars are just simply kind of driving all the way up to the house because there's no barriers there. But in case there is an emergency and they need to come through that other way, we want to be able to have a gate that could open, but.
Well, I mean, because I guess my thought is that if you're looking to prevent cars, there's ways to do it other than a gate. And the concern I have with a gate is you can put all the signs you want on it, but people see a gate and they say, no, you can't go through. You're not allowed through. A gate basically precludes people's ability to go through the property. So you put some stones there or something like that, you can prevent cars from going through, but and you can still walk through. But putting a gate feels to me like it's a barrier and that it's not welcoming. That's just my intuitive feeling, and I think most people look at it that way.
I think it's more along the lines of bollards or the sort of things that
Yeah.
you see that the heads of
Yeah.
rail trails and whatnot.
Yeah,
That achieve the same
Yeah.
goal, they keep all cars out, but it's very clear that pedestrians are walking through, and I see
Yeah.
I understand your point.
Well, and I think, given that we want the public to access this, we wouldn't want to put anything there, I think, that would sort of even suspect limitation.
yeah.
Is it passable right now for emergency vehicles anyway? Would there be any
No,
kind of?
because there's a lot of trees down across it.
Right.
So it's not, but if you remove the trees, I suppose you could drive down there if you wanted to.
It used to be the old driveway up to Rolling Ridge.
Right.
And so I'm okay with not putting a gate on as long as there's something to deter cars driving up. And so my thought would be is I've seen in other trail sites where you actually have, you have the gate that's open, but then you have the spot that's open for people to walk, indicating that's kind of the place to people to enter through.
You're
But
saying that's not, but what about what Brian said, bollards? Are you okay with that?
which I'm okay with that as well.
okay.
And that's kind of where it's,
Yeah.
as long as we come up with some kind of plan that helps to prevent cars from driving through, I'm okay with it.
At the end of that is, I just want to make sure it's okay with the fire department that access is shut down,
And it's not, you do see stuff like this in Harold Parker all the time where, the rangers or whatnot need to have vehicle access out there. So there is a gate and there's bollards on the side and very clear paths around it
Yeah.
in the event that the vehicle has to access it.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. The default would be bollards, keep the vehicles out. And then at the end of it, I think what you're saying is when it gets to the easement line, you want a true gate at that point, which I think
Which I think
we're
that's
okay with.
fair,
Or
yeah.
we don't want people wandering onto the property.
The last walk I was on, we removed the do not enter sign that was at the beginning of that, which was concerning to me, and I'm always afraid another one's going to show.
And so what I'm hearing, I guess, is that if we take down the first gate and put bollards instead, you're okay with putting a second one where we can have some gates, and it'll have a clear sign that says, public access trail with an arrow pointing where they would need to go. Okay?
The only, I guess one of my concerns that we have here is in walking this and looking at these maps and whatever, when we first went in and we were looking at acquiring this, and we met with people and we went for a walk, we weren't walked in, we walked down this nice path and we walked through and we said we want to have this open to the public and we want the public to come enjoy this property, blah, blah, blah. I kind of thought I was buying that walk, right? Now all of a sudden I'm told, no, you can't be on that. You got to go down there in the swamp, and then you got to build a ramp in order to walk here. And I'm like, whoa, never saw that.
Well,
We never knew that.
you're getting ahead, I think, to the next item.
Well, it kind of goes to where the gate goes. So if they're shutting, that's my concern.
But I guess the point is, if there is not a gate, but they're just bollards,
Right, then, but.
so you can prevent,
What he's looking for him to do is to send people down at that point.
Well,
So I wanna move those.
I think what we need to do is we need to look at the whole length of the path, see if it's consistent with what the easement is, and if it sort of takes us away from,
Well, that's my point. I think we need to find out what we actually have access to, because I guess the walkthrough wasn't the path.
yeah.
Well, I
So-
think you're right, John. I think we're starting to get into to the next item, right? Because the.
Well, I thought we were done on the other one.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay.
We were on to the next item. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, fair enough,
Yeah.
Terry. So we'll move to the second, but I guess I have a question maybe before that is, so originally this project was to buy the easement and stuff, right? So are we, any funding that's left, is it
Only for the
appropriate?
parking lot, because that was in it, to have built the
Right, so I
parking lot.
guess my question now, as we're talking about this, is if we do get into moving the trail and stuff, does that deviate from the original project that was approved?
Yeah.
Well,
And can we talk about that sort of under the
well,
auspice of the original
I mean,
project?
I think that, to answer the question exactly, I'd want to go back and look at the easement documents just a little bit, because I understand the point where you're coming from, and it may very well be that our rights are broader than what this new path is. I mean, I think that the idea is we ought to look at what's being proposed and see if it's an acceptable I mean, there's the easement, the physical easement, which may be a certain number of feet, but there's also the physical path, which is going to be a subset of that.
Right.
Right, I mean, because it may be part of the easement, there's a tree or something. If it's 25 feet wide, there may be a tree or some other barrier on part of it. And we do have to look at, where we want the actual path to go. I mean, if you're concerned about where the path leads us, then it may even be out of the easement area, for all we know. We don't know.
It may
Yeah.
be, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
we're looking at a dotted line, but I don't have a dimension on it, and I don't know what they're taking the dimensions off of.
Yeah.
So how do we do that?
Well, I'm going to go back and look at all the documents that we have, because I think that my recollection was that the easement was reasonably broad and reasonably wide.
Right.
And, I just don't remember off the top of my head what it was, but I think when we set it up to be pretty robust and pretty flexible, and then we would worry about the details later, but,
And so if you take a look at this document, it has where the marking out and where the easement is, along with the current public access trail. And according to the document, the grant of the trail parking easement, there are notifications about the fact that there could be a relocation of the trail within the easement area. And everything that we're talking about is redirecting the trail within the easement area. And so getting back, so as we move into the next part about relocating the trail, the idea of relocating the trail is to hopefully help with access, to be able to keep the trail from currently going up the hill and then coming down. There's this big turn that says public access trail, and that's one of the concerns about people coming down that steep hill. And so by keeping things off of that hill and trying to keep it and moving it down along the lake, and creating a boardwalk over the conservation area, it does keep it a little bit more flat so that you can connect from Carriage Drive along the, over the conservation wetlands, and then continue on along the Lakeside Trail. And one of the other things that's on the proposal is then to reroute the trail off of the stairs leading up to Lakeside Landing to a straight access point, and so it's simply rerouting the trail that way, so.
I mean, it does look based on this, that first of all, the easement's fairly broad, and it goes from the edge of the property in somewhat. Is the issue, Terry, if you look at, do you have this one?
Yep.
guys? Do you see where it bows out here?
Yep.
Is this where we're talking about?
Yeah, I think it is.
At that point? Because
Yes.
the way I read it, until you get to that point where you veer off to the left, the path is all on the road, the whole length.
Right.
Right.
So we're actually staying on the path as far as we can until where the
But you're
easement
proposing a
ends.
gate on 2B here.
Well, so this is where, if you take a look at this document that I have, and so this is an enlarged version of it. This is where, if you see where the 2B is, that's where the gate would be, and that's where it's rerouting the trail off of this hill and then down along the wetlands with the boardwalk to keep everything a little bit more flat.
It does make it considerably flat and straight,
Right.
which I think would improve
I think you should- I
access.
think you should have a
You have
copy.
that in there.
We have it.
Yeah.
There's another document that looks similar to this.
Well, I think, Terry, to your point is, if you look at it, the way I read this thing is that where the changes proposed is instead of up at the top where the easement ends on the road, it's a little bit lower down.
Right, right. So, but there is a nice gradual path that's right there, that already exists, that we walked down when we went for our tour,
Right.
that they're now saying is not within the easement.
Well, I think we gotta go back and we gotta check
No,
that.
I don't think it's saying that.
I don't think I'm saying that's not in the easement. I'm saying
Yeah.
it is in the easement, but
Well,
it's.
You have the quick path that you say is in the easement, the one that was cut in later, it was never there. For years and years, it wasn't there. And then there's a gradual path that takes you down to the patio, which you're saying is out of the easement. The gradual
Well,
path would be
but
perfect for what we wouldn't have to do anything.
I mean, I think we're actually gonna have to go back there. and walk
But
through
the thing
again.
is, you can go back there forever, but we're gonna come up, we
Well-
need to know where it is, like,
No,
what is the
no, I know
dimensions?
that,
Yeah.
but the point ends up being is, in anything in this world, there's some trade-offs.
Yeah.
Now, I think with what you just showed, the path, the proposed path veers off before the end of the easement. So the old existing roadway would continue in the easement area for a certain distance
Right.
before it ends.
Right.
And is your concern that where the new gate is going to be is at before the easement ends, or is it?
it is.
So-
Yeah,
so-
it
so-
is.
It is,
It
So,
is.
so let
Yeah.
me, my concern is this, we go out for a walk, and we say, this is what we're looking to do. And this is where they didn't say, well, this is, and your trail's gonna be down there. They didn't say that. They said, this is the trail, this is where you would come in, and this is where you would go. So that's what I wanna do. Now, all of a sudden, I'm being told, no, well, you're gonna have to spend quite a bit of money to build a trail down here for your access, because we're not gonna have you access this walkway that we showed you,
That,
you know?
well, I mean, what you proposed is, you think it's a better alignment than the other one, or what is the reason for
My
that?
concern is I'm not sure where Terry's, so from what I see, what is on this map here is where it says that public access trail, that's the hill that goes down. I don't know where the other trail that Terry was referring to.
Okay.
And so I guess we can kind of look to see, but that's where the concern is, that's the hill. Because if CPC decides not to reroute the trail, that's fine. It's just gonna be, the concern is that somehow going down that hill, which I believe is where, where that sharp left-hand turn is, it's trying to make that more accessible to
Yeah.
people because it's
Are-
fairly
are-
steep.
You're talking about the one you cut in recently. I'm talking about the one we went down all the time. The one you cut in recently, now you have to climb over the tree that's fallen down. If you continued up another 10, 15 feet, you would go to a gradual trail that takes you down, that you're now saying is, and that's
Well,
the trail.
one of
we
the
went on.
things.
So I guess I don't see where that, so I guess we should just need to walk up, because I don't know where
I
that
mean,
access is.
well, let me ask you this.
Uh-huh.
I mean, one of the things that, like, with the planning board always goes
Mm-hmm.
out on the site is, we go with the plans, but they typically stake building corners and roadways and stuff like that, so you know exactly. Can we, when we go out there, sort of delineate the edge of the easement at the point where the thing veers? Because I think that's going to be a critical part of it. I
That would
mean, I
help
don't.
everybody see it better.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's, so we don't have any ambiguity of exactly that point. It's almost, I think the key thing is the point on the roadway where the easement ends is what we would like to see, because then we can, basically look at this 50 to 100 feet in front of it and see how it slopes down, because you're gonna have to bend to the left at some point.
Right.
And the question is, I think you're suggesting that there's a different spot where you ought to veer to the left than what Terry is, and I think unless we know where that point is, we're not gonna be absolutely sure. We have to go out and see.
And so I've only been at the Ridge for about 2.5 years, and from my looking at the map and my walking the trails, that steep hill that goes down is where I think, that's kind of where I interpret the map, this map being on the property. And that was the concern that Glenn had
But
as well. when I was
what
working with-
dimension are you taking here that brings you there? Where did you get the measurement?
This is,
Nothing, it's just to scale.
because I'm looking to see where the access points are off of the trail.
Okay, so you don't have a measurement.
I don't have measurements.
Yeah.
And so,
So, I mean, that's what we need. We need to know what we bought.
He's saying is, you're
yes,
off the
because
path
I'm
here.
looking at it, it's- I think it measures out, but I
Terry's
didn't
saying
do
it's
So, yeah, so I don't know how to do that, though.
Terry,
I don't either.
Terry's,
Yeah.
because effectively what you're saying is we're losing this part of.
So,
easement.
so look, how do we figure out where the easement is and isn't?
Well, I think, whoever did this would know, because this is in the field. I mean, what you really, the ideal situation, I'm not sure we can do it, is you sort of get the information from the engineer, and then somebody can just go stake that spot, because they should measure all the dimensions, so it should be a thing, it's just,
The surveyor could go there and flag
Surveyor
this
do it,
easily.
yeah.
The
That's what I
surveyor
mean,
did
yeah.
this could easily do that.
Yeah. And that's what I think we need to do, so whether, that's what I would recommend.
So
At the end,
here's-
whoever your surveyor or engineer is. just
Well, we
have
can
them
work
go.
probably, reach out to Finn Dyson to have him stake it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And
that's
so-
the best next step.
Okay?
Yeah.
Is everybody, Terry, you good with that?
Yeah, I want to know.
Where it starts.
I guess the feel was on the walk, where they wanted people to come to in and see the, and now I get the feel they want us in, but stay on the line. So now we need to know where that line is, so, it's kind of the spirit of it has changed.
Well, I hope that you don't feel that the spirit has changed, because we want to be able to create access. If you want to keep it as here, that's fine. But my sense is, looking at what's actually there currently, it's a steep hill that needs to go down. And
That's not the same trail we're
Okay.
talking, that's a new one you cut in. It's not the trail that's been there forever and is nicely groomed. So we're talking about two different trails.
Okay, because,
we should resolve
and
that
so,
with the sidewalk.
because that's fine, because we can walk it again, because I think if the other trail that you're thinking at, it's this one, it might be this one up here.
The lollipop one?
The one that looks like a lollipop,
Which is outside of the easement
Yeah.
area.
which is outside of the easement. We can confirm that, but,
Yeah,
that's.
the thing is, though,
pretty
when we do it,
Uh,
we can't deliberate.
But did,
Yeah.
did,
So we can listen to
did
the
conservation
best
render any
questions.
kind of opinion on their thoughts on even relocating a boardwalk
Yeah.
over the conservation
There
area?
is.
They said they would be open to it, and so they're not opposed to it. And so, if we wanted to keep it the way that it is on here, with my thought, it is going down that steep hill, because that hill has been there for the last 2.5 years, so I don't know when that, I didn't cut it while I was here. What we ended up doing is we ended up putting a trail where the current boardwalk area is, and that's kind of where my staff added something to see if it could connect. And that was the thing that we're in the process of restoring right now.
So here's what I'm thinking. I think, Lawrence, if you could call the folks and get them to come out and survey it and, do all that, I think that works. And then what I think we'd like to do is appoint sort of like a subcommittee here. Terry, I was hoping you
Sure.
Terry, John, and Brian, would you be up for that?
Absolutely.
Terry, John, and Brian, we'll do a little subcommittee, and they'll be our sort of point people for you
Okay?
to work this out.
Okay?
Does that work? Because I think we all want it worked out, so.
Yeah, and so, again, I don't have a problem keeping it as marked on here.
Yeah.
But, we wanted to see if it's possible to keep it flatter for people along the
Totally.
wetlands. And if that's not the decision, then it's still trying to figure out how to create that access onto that area, given what my understanding of where the mark out
Yep.
is. And
So I think what we'll do is have Brian, John, and Terry come out
Okay.
meet you guys and work it out. And
Okay.
then they'll figure it out, come back to us, and we'll put it in place.
Okay, and so then the other ones that are on here that still needs to be discussed then is, we wanted to reroute, a decision about rerouting the approach to Lakeside Landing. That's the area that.
The stairs.
That has the stairs. I think Terry might have been there when we had the conversation with Amy as well as with Maureen Harold from Norse about rerouting it off of the stairs. That's something that would need to be discussed as well. Right now, people need to kind of go down and then to head back up the stairs to head to Lakeside Landing. If we were to reroute the trail from the public access point straight into Lakeside Landing, it would make it easier. And from the pictures that we have there, there are no trees that need to be taken down, which was conservation's concerns. But I think that we would be able to reroute that part of the trail fairly easily. We would just need to remove some bars, a fence, as well as the trail that marks out Lakeside
And you need to
Landing.
check on that rock wall, right?
Yes, and the rock wall. I think Donovan saw that as well.
Yeah.
And so that would be one of the other decisions that would need to be made.
There's this, you have to come down the trail, go around, come up the stairs, and then continue. So he's saying just make it a straight shot,
Yeah.
which it actually seemed to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But- Okay, so I
And
think
so-
we're gonna hold off on sort of discussing those until those guys get down there
Okay.
with you and the surveyor. I think that's the fair way to do it.
Okay, and so I guess in terms of, so what I'll do then is I'll report to Conservation to let them know that CPC is still needing to make some decisions about the marking out of the land. But I guess in terms of monies that is still available, you were going to check to see
Yeah.
what we're looking at
I
this point?
think, I haven't gotten a 100% up to date, go ahead, Terry.
Well, I was just saying, I'm not sure the money can be used past the
Well,
parking lot.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think you can use it for trails. I mean,
Oh, yeah?
yeah.
We got to, I think, so we need to decide whether it can be used for anything past the parking lot. I think we think it can, but we need to be 100% sure. But I think, hold on, I did find that number. The appropriations was $600,000. The expenditures to date have been $502,815, which leaves a balance of $97,185. That's the last update I got on May 31st.
Okay, and so I guess, let me know how you want to move forward with this, because part of it's going to be is that Conservation would like to have an engineered plan of everything that is requiring permitting, including the installation of the last part of the trail that is on the map here, where it's out by the labyrinth, where it says future public access trail needs to go. That also needs to be, I guess, some kind of clear engineering plan about permitting. I think there might be a few trees that need to be taken down for that, to be able to connect the end of the access trail to the beginning of the labyrinth. So that's kind of where my hope would be, is that if CPC could hire an engineer to be able to draft out everything that is needed, then it's just working to see how CPC wants to work with the contractors, whether it's having the town do it or having Boy Scouts take care of some of the trail work.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay?
Appreciate it.
And so I guess follow up then, I guess, should I be in contact with Terry, John, and,
Yep,
Okay.
I'll send you an email and connect you guys, all of you guys.
I'll meet with Conservation and get back to you.
Yep, perfect.
okay? And then I'm reporting back to Conservation in just about 2 weeks, and so I guess I will report to them just to kind of clarify that Terry will be meeting with Amy to talk about the reroute to the moving of the parking lot, and that there is conversation going on about the actual marking out of the trail, of the
easement.
easement area.
Right.
And once that is done, CPC will, or I guess I will come back to
back.
Conservation to report on what the plans are about getting a full engineered plan about the proposals that CPC wants for the area.
Okay.
And once it's flagged by the surveyor, then we can come out there and kind of walk it.
Okay.
and see it. So there's no point in doing it until that's flagged.
Yeah, that's right.
Unless you want to have fun.
Yeah,
I think we're for a walk anyway.
yeah.
And just to confirm, though, that when we bring the surveyor out, in terms of the expenses for that, will that be able to come out of the 97,000?
It's kind of, that's a little bit different because it's the easement and it's sort of something to both parties. I mean, if it's not very much money, find out how much he'll charge and then we'll talk about it. I mean, I think
Yeah.
to some degree we should
Paid for
share
the
that.
creation of
Yeah.
this plan initially.
It's not us, I don't
Okay,
think.
then I think it would flow
Yeah.
together.
All right?
Okay,
Good.
very good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
All right, our next agenda item is the authorization of the payment made to the Community Preservation Coalition for our annual membership. I think that's in your packet. I think we all know the great benefits that the coalition provides us, and I think we just need a vote to approve our annual dues.
So moved.
Second?
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. All right, and the next one is a vote to sign the contracts for the projects approved at town meeting. So I think this is a little different. They came to me and said that we needed a committee vote to approve these contracts. Copies are,
I don't think there's any problem with it.
I didn't see any.
Okay.
Did you-
This
did
is
you,
the Housing
Terry?
Trust, okay, yeah, no. Well, I'm still waiting for the final report from the Housing Authority.
So-
I just don't want to,
So so I actually, Kathy sent Laura, so this is going to come up next, I think, but they just made their final payment for that, so I think the final product should be coming soon.
Okay.
So they made their final payment, so they said we can close it out. So actually, our next vote, as long as everybody's okay, is to
well,
close that
so,
out.
but this is just,
This is an affordable, what, you're talking about this?
Affordable Housing Trust,
This is
right,
different,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, that's,
This is for, so,
I was
so,
out of order in our packet, I think that's.
yeah.
although, let's just double check that in that contract is that that project still needs to be of the top three. I think that's what we,
But the trust and the housing authority are separate.
oh, sorry, oh, you're talking about yes.
okay.
I think I'm not following that.
I messed you up.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
talking
yeah.
two different things.
Oh,
so-
okay, all right.
Yeah.
So the top one is the affordable housing trust.
Oh,
grant.
I hadn't even looked at the pile. I had read them earlier, yeah.
Oh, got it, okay.
So that says we're giving them $100,000 and they have to buy real property with it within 3 years, or we close it out, essentially.
Yep.
That's what it says.
So this is the, so I think the only thing, and I would just bring it up here, is the Francis Street, Baldwin Street kitchens and baths.
Okay, where's that one?
That's the one you're talking about.
No, I
there,
know,
yeah.
but I don't have that one, I'm trying to look for it.
Take mine.
No, I'm sure it's here, I just, oh, here it is. Yep.
So I thought that we had asked a condition of that be that, that in the needs assessment, that this be the top one or in the top three, if I'm not mistaken,
I
right?
mean, does it say it? I haven't read through it, but
So
we
the special
want to make
condition-
sure we get the final report first before we release the money.
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think that's one we might need to redraft,
To
because
wordsmith, yeah.
the special conditions say approval of this grant is specifically subject to receipt and approval of the capital needs assessment, right? So that fits, but
Yeah.
it doesn't say, I thought, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, we can look back in the minutes, but I thought we'd said that in addition to getting the assessment, we wanted this particular thing to be in the top three or
Yeah,
top five
right,
of
yeah.
the projects listed.
Not top five, yeah.
Yeah.
It's gotta be one of the top things, thing.
I thought we said top three, so I think we'll need to put that in there, right?
Yeah, I think, I would agree with that. I mean, this is sort of like, a little bit like what the planning board does with its decisions. And I mean, what we typically do, if somebody wants to hold a pen, we agree as amended, and then we make the changes, and, whether you want to do it, or somebody else wants to, do it, whoever wants to do it.
That's fine.
But I'd like to see a presentation of that report, and then where this fell on that report, and then, we may, and I'm just making, somebody may come in and say, number one is this critical situation, and we're gonna say,
Well, and that's the exact conversation that we
Right,
had
right.
with them.
Right.
So would that go under number 7 then, special conditions?
I think it would, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
John, are you suggesting we can amend that right now and take a vote on it?
Well, I
or-
mean, however you want to do it, we could wait and vote it the next time, or.
I think we should wait and vote it the next time, and I'll
Okay.
work with,
Yeah.
I'll work with staff to get
Okay,
it, to get it
that's
right.
fine, yeah.
So why don't we say, or what, maybe someone can make a motion for the rest of them minus this one.
Yeah,
right?
that's fine. I would make a vote, what is it, what are we doing?
We're moving to to approve the chairman, I guess, to sign the contracts for the project approved at town
Okay,
meeting.
for the following projects, North Andover Affordable Housing, I make a motion to do that as moved for North Andover Affordable Housing Trust, the fire steamer engine restoration, the Sear Boardwalk, the playground master plan, and the Ridgewood Cemetery, and where's the other one?
Glennywood- Glennywood-
Yeah, the
Glennywood.
Glennywood land.
Perfect.
Yeah. So,
I just have a question on the woodlot.
Yep.
So the conservation restriction is going to Essex County Greenbelt. And so they're the ones who are gonna have the conservation restriction. They'll own the property.
No, we'll own the property.
Town's property.
We'll own the property, they'll hold a conservation restriction.
They'll hold the conservation restriction.
That, you have to do it that way, you can't hold it yourself, you have to have an independent third party.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have when a lot of the ones we have, it's either Essex County or it's the trustees that hold the restriction, yeah,
Okay.
Yep.
yeah,
You need someone to go to lift the restriction.
yeah.
Is that good? You good with
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Okay, do we have a second? Yeah. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay? Okay, so we'll leave the, so that motion did not include the Francis Street, Baldwin
Yeah.
Street Kitchens and Baths, which I will go back to staff and
Yeah.
we'll rework that with every intention of moving it
Yeah.
forward the next meeting.
By the way, on the Glenny Woodlot, there's a fundraiser.
Oh, yeah?
I think it's next week, I forget what day it is. It's like next Wednesday or Thursday at Brad Wakeman's. I'm sure he would be glad to have anybody that wants to go there. He's got that beautiful barn on his property, apparently, if the weather's nice, they'll have the thing in the barn, so, yeah.
that barn is one of the nicest barns I've ever.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, so the next item on our agenda is a vote to close out project 1363, the North Andover Housing Authority Capital Needs Assessment. I have an email, which I'll get back up just to make sure I have it. I have an email from Kathy to Lori Burslaff, indicating that it is the last, that the invoice that she gave us was the last payment for that project.
Did she, in the stuff we got from the town finance department, have they applied that money against the last one or reserved?
That's a good question. I don't have the
yeah.
answer to that.
Yeah, because you don't want to close it until it
Actually hits.
Yeah,
Right, good. So
yeah.
we'll, let's, then
Yeah.
I would, maybe we have a motion to move that to the next agenda.
Yeah, let's just, motion
think-
to hold it over to next time and then close. Yeah.
Good. Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
I think that's smart. And the last thing on our agenda, Bill, is a website update if you have one. We didn't know.
Yeah, so I mean, everything's set up and ready to start loading. I mean, I think the next step is to identify all the materials that we have that we want to load. So,
What's an example like, if you would
So-
give us a good example?
right, so what I,
Have a good
the
visual
structure's,
effect.
the structure's set up the following way. So you'd essentially have, an icon on the map is the project, you click on it, and then you'd come to all the files associated with it. So you'd have the grant application, now that we have the formal contract, that would be there. You'd have pictures and any sort of documents that were relevant to that. So the deed restriction, anything, basically anything that comes under that project, the work product that we produced doing that would all be sort of filed away, like all the other documents and old minutes and so forth that we have here in town. So really, we just kind of go to the CPC files and just pull them up and scan them. And essentially, from what Chris McClure was saying, he could have this done essentially for free with the labor of folks who volunteer at Town Hall. That they regularly are doing this with historical documents anyway. They're scanning them to preserve them. So really, it's just identifying them, getting them in file boxes.
I'm thinking probably the more recent stuff, maybe we could do either this year or last year. Let's put those documents in, let's see what it looks like, and then, maybe then from there do another year, because we may find, as you do it, you may say, oh, I'll tweak this, or I'll
Yeah, it
tweak
doesn't
that, or
look as
something like
we
that,
want,
or, it doesn't have the look and feel of what we want, because
great.
there's gonna be 20 years worth of data, so it's gonna be a lot of work, and unfortunately, some of the early stuff, the records may not be as good, so, maybe in my basement someplace,
Maybe we should get them out.
yeah, I know, yeah. My wife's mad at me because I'm saving a couple boxes of CPA stuff, so, yeah.
All right, I think that's a good idea. Maybe, can you do that? Like,
Yeah, so I could probably pull together a couple of years, last year's stuff.
We're in
and-
2018.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's what it is.
okay.
Okay,
Great.
cool. All right. Anything else? I don't think that's it.
Motion to approve the minutes?
Yes, did everybody read the minutes?
I think there are no changes.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have to
Hearing no
abstain.
opposition?
Yeah.
Okay, Bill abstains. All right, do we have another motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye, we are adjourned.